all very much, and I love coming and speaking to different groups, especially in Texas, but all over the country, because all the grassroots Tea Party organizations, Fort Worth 912, you start with a prayer and the pledge to the flag. And that's, I believe, where it should all start. And then it starts with us taking action. So I'm going to pass around some business cards. On the PowerPoint, you'll see my name, and I have an organization called Voices in Power. And you can go to voicesempower, EMPOWER.com, and find a lot of good information. But I want to talk tonight, especially from a perspective from Women on the Wall. And that's what my card will say, womenonthewall.org. And Mel will be very proud of me because I'm going to plug, we have a radio show on Monday mornings at 10 a.m. called Women on the Wall. And it's produced by WBTM Radio, Internet Radio. And WBTM stands for We Become the Media, because the media is not going to cover the issues that need to be covered. And this morning we had Bill Ames on our radio show, and he did a wonderful job talking about CSCOPE, and I'll talk a little bit later about a strategy and a plan moving forward that we talked about on our radio show this morning. But you can go to womenonthewall.org and actually listen to that show, because I do have it archived and you can click on the link. But I want to pass out these cards. On one side it's going to have Women on the Wall. On the other side it's going to have avoidable. And tonight, before you leave, you'll actually see the avoidable video that's referenced on this business card. And I hope that you will take this video and share it with your friends and neighbors. Because we're all talking about CSCOPE and Common Core curriculum and the education of our children. But I truly believe, and especially after being at CPAC in Washington, D.C. the last couple of days, that the education that we are providing our children today is actually a national security threat. So, at the end of my talk, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand and see if I have convinced you or not, or if it concerns you or not. So I'm going to pass these around. I'm also going to pass around a clipboard that has a petition on it to stop CSCOPE completely in the state of Texas. And if you will sign that petition, give me your email address and contact information, and later on in my talk I'm going to talk about a strategy and a battle plan moving forward. And if you want to be boots on the ground, if you want to be a part of making a difference to save our state and our nation for our children and grandchildren, I encourage you to sign on with us and join the Boots on the Ground team moving forward. So, all right, thank you. Okay, great. So, again, my name is Alice Linahan with Voices in Power. You know, it's interesting, and especially after being at CPAC in Washington, D.C. and seeing it firsthand, and then knowing what's going on down at the Capitol in Austin, I am even more convinced today that we have a political establishment instead of civil servants. You know, things are run by big money, deep pockets, party candidates, agnostic consultants. How many, raise your hand, saw the rant that Pat Cadell did on political consultants? I encourage you, if you didn't read that article, you can go to Voices in Power and find it. Pat was on a roll in Washington, and I think he's right on target. Part of the challenge is we have political consultants that their main job is making money, not electing the right officials. We have party platforms, endorsements, media ad buys, direct mail, press conferences, PR, special interest groups. And with CSCOPE and Common Core curriculum, the special interest groups are alive and well. So what can we do And your call to action is to truly be grassroots activists that don't just show up at meetings, but actually become involved. And, you know, we've got to get precinct coverage. We've got to prepare now during this legislative session to follow what our elected officials are doing right now so that we can prepare for the primary when we need to either take them out of office or return them. There's some shining stars right now working very hard. Giovanni Caprileone is one of those, and he's not making any friends down in Austin, and actually I think that means he's doing his job. And so we need precinct coverage, neighborhood teams, urban leader alliances, driving the local narrative, activate the mainstream, GOTV methodology, voter management, election integrity, and that is how we will elect civil servants. But it starts now, not just like is typically done on the Republican Party. Right before an election, you just go out and get Republicans out to vote. We know now that there is a political establishment, and we need to do a lot more than just elect Republicans. Those of you that have heard me speak before, I talk about that I'm just like every one of you. I'm nobody special. I just was a ticked off mom, basically. And I started posting news and information on Facebook and Twitter 3 times a day. And I became what I call a connected authority. And the reason I became a connected authority wasn't that I knew any more than any of you. I just consistently put out good content. And I tell people, I'm not a writer at all, but I know really good writers, like Donna Gardner, and different writers who are true journalists and researchers. And I put out their news and information. And then you have the engaged minority. That's those of you that come to meetings and come and find out news and information. You're reliable, you show up, you are the engaged minority. You are the people that show up. But we've got a problem, folks, because we've got this huge passive majority that has no clue what's actually going on. And we've got to be smart and strategic to reach the passive majority. Right now we're talking about CSCOPE. Evidently there's a controversy in the media in CSCOPE. And how did that happen? It didn't happen because the media started covering it. It happened because grassroots people, teachers, started questioning and started researching and finding out what was actually in this technology curriculum that's in the state of Texas. So this slide is actually slide number 9 in a CSCOPE presentation that is set to be given this summer to CSCOPE at a CSCOPE conference that teachers will be going to, that the State Board of Administrators, Texas Association of Administrators, they go to these CSCOPE conferences. And so in their PowerPoint, which Ginger Russell happened to get a hold of, it says that they're going to talk about the controversy in the media. And they need to respond to the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in CSCOPE? Who's the person who's speaking out to the stakeholders for CSCOPE? Interesting, it's Thomas Ratliff. Thomas Ratliff is a State Board of Education elected official in East Texas, who actually, Attorney General Abbott ruled that he was illegally on the State Board of Education because he's a lobbyist. Remember that big deep pocket slide that we had? He's a lobbyist for Microsoft. CSCOPE is an online technology. Isn't that interesting? We have a lobbyist who's a state board elected official, and his brother, Bennett Ratliff, is actually also a new state representative who's now been put on the education committee to decide whether CSCOPE legislation goes through the committee process. Isn't that interesting? If you go to womenonthewall.org or Voices in Power, you can actually find this slide and click on that link, and Thomas Ratliff, a State Board of Education elected official, is speaking for CSCOPE. Is that a conflict of interest? Well, so what are we going to do about it? Obviously, there's a media controversy, and so we in the grassroots have created enough stink that now the media, the mainstream media, is even starting to pick up on it. And has Bud Kennedy written about this? I haven't seen it. Is he here? Bud, you need to write about this. We need to be friends with the mainstream media. And you know what? I'm actually really excited that Bud's here. I am really actually glad that Bud Kennedy is here. That tells you we're creating enough stink. That's okay. Because we've got a strategy moving forward. Because we don't let the mainstream media drive the narrative. Because we tell our friends and neighbors what's actually going on. So, thank you, Bud, for being here. I actually do appreciate it. So, we have got to get out of our echo chamber. We've got to get out of the people that we hang around with at Tea Party and grassroots meetings, the people that we are with all the time. Mel knows. We've got to spread the message and get information out to the masses. Now is the time to call in the troops, because it's not one or two media people, it's not even a Tea Party leader, it's not one person. It's the power of compounding activists. And what will entice us to move? What will entice those people who are the passive majority to move? And I would contend CSCOPE is an issue. And I want to talk about it from a perspective, not a liberal conservative side, but actually a national security side. This is the last screen, and I want to show you the power that we have if we will together band. We're setting up communication teams all across the state. We have a conference call every week. Tomorrow night there's a huge conference call. Grassroots leaders and members from across the state are getting on a call to talk about what we can do. If we have 200 grassroots groups in the state of Texas, and those 200 groups only have 100 members, and those 100 members only have 200 friends on Facebook, and we're all posting the great article that Bud Kennedy is going to write about. Let's see who gets more traction, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram or that 4 million people that we have the power to hit, that we have the power to hit, if we will take the time to find good quality content and share it with our friends and neighbors. That is how we change our state and our country, and we take it back to where our elected officials are more beholden to our vote and the passive majority's vote because they are educated on the issues compared to the dollar of the lobbyist or the special interest groups. The only way we're going to save our state and our country is by the power of the voters. So, with that, I'm going to transfer over and I'm going to show a video of CSCOPE and the January 31st hearing down in Austin, which happened to be the same day as Texas Muslim Day at the Capitol. And that day there were 12 sponsoring groups for Texas Muslim Day at the Capitol, and 8 of those groups have direct ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. So the day that I went to the CSCOPE hearing down in Austin and I walked up the steps of the Capitol, the marketing table, the table on the steps of the Capitol, had CAIR. C-A-I-R. That has direct ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. That table was on your state capitol. The hearing, CSCOPE hearing, yeah. We downloaded these. That is, yeah, questioning.
Members have a series of questions today. I'll open up to additional questions. Either Dr. Smith or Dr. Levy, where did the ESC get the authority to get a nonprofit corporation? What did you have authority?
I'm not sure whether there's anything in writing that grants and stuff, but we're not aware of anything that prevents it. And several of the service centers have other nonprofits, and actually several of the service centers were set up as nonprofits initially. And back in the days when we were first receiving any type of federal state grants, one of those grants required nonprofit status. And I can't speak for all the service centers. I spent quite a bit of time in Region 20 in San Antonio, and that was set up as a nonprofit on its own, as was Region 13.
Did you seek any advice from the Attorney General or the legislature before doing that?
No, sir. We saw a lot of attorney guidance, so we were very cautious of that. Wait up if you want to add anything to that or not.
I think it's just simply a matter of a lot of shared effort, a lot of resources pulled together from the service centers with intellectual property content at stake, and so it was just advised as good business practice to form a 501c3 to manage.
Are you aware that normally when government entities do form a nonprofit that is through statute and the legislature, not on their own?
No, sir. And I guess we were working part of the previous experience because we knew other service centers that had done something similar in years past.
That's 2012, correct? So for 7 years, Senator Zorn, they've never had any outside review whatsoever. And that is problematic to see if they are getting it right. And you know, the SBOE and our textbooks, as you know, they have lots of readers that work over all of these lessons. You also, Senator Duncan, you asked a question if that opened up transparency, but it's my understanding the parents today still can't go on and look at your curriculum lesson plans, correct, as of today?
Well, that's correct. The process has always been, of course, we would defer to the local school district to initiate or allow for that to take place with parents directly. And as Dr. Smith mentioned, what actually is going on in the classroom, it's better for the classroom teacher to have. For direct access, I'm going to go back, and I think you may even address what you mentioned previously, is our intent. And the intent of this system was built for teachers. It was requested by districts. This is what we need to help us with.
I understand, but Chapter 26 always clear. So the parents, so I want to go back to Senator Duncan's question. As of today, because I thought you answered it the way, yes, we've done this. Yeah, as of today, parents cannot look at the curriculum and lesson plans of CSCOPE through your website, right?
That's correct, but we've allowed the districts to go ahead and post that.
That doesn't matter.
Not directly. Directly, we have not provided that.
Do you intend to allow that?
We intend to allow parents to have full access. There's going to be some structural problems with the test, and that's what we're working on now.
But how long will it be for your critics, as well as your supporters, the members I've invited, panelists from both sides today? We'll have people who are singing their praise and people who are critical, including teachers and superintendents. They're not just parents and other folks who are looking at this from outside. But how long is it going to be before? I'm told, is it correct that the State Board of Education Chairman, Barbara Carter, who will testify later, that she could be a passport to look at things for state law?
That is correct, and that was our fault.
And I go back to being trouble here is, again, as Senator Duncan said, no one's on trial here, but today, suddenly, in 2013, suddenly, after 7 years, you're changing the contract for teachers aren't criminally liable. Suddenly, you're having an outsider saying we need to be transparent. And everything is what I said. It's a mistake that we didn't let the chairman of the SBOE come on our website. And again, it gives me great, because what you all are doing could be great. It's obviously not. Regardless if it's right or wrong, it's obviously a mess at this point. And you're in 875 school districts. That really concerns me, because the teachers and the students are depending on this to pass their STAR test and the course test. It's really, really troubling for me. And one other last thing, and then we'll go to our next panelist for an additional question. Senator Duncan asked you, Dr. Linahan, about how you respond to criticism. Dealing with the Boston Tea Party issue, which did bring in and things like this. We all live in this fishbowl, all of us up here, all of you. The way you responded was on your website. And your first response, which is still there, I remember, if you look at it, on November 27th, you wrote, one malicious claim circulated by these groups and individuals that CSCOPE teaches of the Boston Tea Party was an act of terrorism. The claim is false, and the portion of the content in question has been grossly misinterpreted. Your response was on your website. And then 2 days later, you corrected yourself. On 11/29, you say, we believe additional information could have been included in this activity itself or in the teacher notes to clarify the intent of the activity and prevent it from being taken out of context. So you responded to this criticism. First, this is blatant, this is ridiculous. There's nothing to it. 2 days later, you go back on your website. Well, actually, I guess we could have done a better job. I kind of get it. Because, and I even understand that the word is engagement, which you used to be a hope for students. I mean, I didn't get it. But I'm amazed that you all didn't guess that when you call our founding fathers terrorists in Texas. That was another particular. So again, service centers do so much good work. It seems like this is something that you said, Dr. Bueller, and again, thank you for your long-time service and your retirement. It seems like you all got into this and want to get bigger and bigger. In fact, as I look at the little bit of minutes that have been released, what I read in your minutes is your goal to be the curriculum in 100% of the state? that your goal?
Our goal is to service our districts with the requests that they make. That's our goal.
Does it seem like you've been racing to meet the goal of getting more districts without doing the quality checks that you've been going? And then the last question on transparency. You told Senator Duncan that they're being transparent. Are you not still engaged with the Attorney General's office today, trying to block the release of the minutes of your public?
Only those portions that we believe have women concerns like
We talked about a lot of things, trying to put so many of the moving parts together. I don't think it's very transparent or clear. When you were talking about proprietary pieces, intellectual property that you're trying to protect, if the state taxpayers are paying salary, is the proprietary ours, the state of Texas?
And make sure you understand, and my colleagues can jump in on this, and I don't claim to be an attorney, and I may be wrong with this. I look at everything we do as a state asset.
So it would then be ours.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's nothing to keep from anyone if we are promoting transparency.
I'm not disagreeing with that by any means,
Right.
and I think what we're showing there are ways that it can be accessed. But I think, as with any other state asset, I can't just go out and claim things on my own as a citizen of the state assets.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to clarify, for the sake of protecting intellectual property, taxpayers do not have access to portions of CSCOPE.
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay. I personally believe that not just parents should have access to this. People across the state of Texas pay taxes. They should have access. Not just parents are concerned about our children's education. And we've got many good educators out there, retired and active, that may not be using CSCOPE. And they still have a passionate commitment to make sure our children have a good education. Yet they
Go on Women on the Wall and read this. Be able to read it. How many people came into this meeting tonight not knowing anything about CSCOPE?
I'm one of them. I'm two.
Okay.
But I'm here to what's all watching and I'll be an expert.
Right. This is on YouTube, so you can pull it at womenonthewall.org and you can go and see this video. CSCOPE is basically an online technology curriculum. It is not, the children don't go and use it. It's not for the children to use directly. It is a curriculum, a scope and sequence is what they call it, for teachers to use. So basically what they have done is it's the teachers that they're trying to reach with this progressive curriculum. And then through the teachers, that's how they reach our children. And Marie and I had a meeting 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, at Region 11 with Dr. Stillman and the CSCOPE consultants, and we were just asking questions because we had a meeting in Lake Dallas, and they gave their presentation, and we had the audio of that, and so we wanted to specifically ask them questions. And if you follow what I've been putting out, what Donna Gardner has been putting out, everybody says, oh, Linda Darling Hammond, she's a part of CSCOPE, she wrote CSCOPE. Well, that's not exactly accurate. And the light bulb went off for me when we were at this meeting. How many of you have, raise your hand, have heard of the Common Core curriculum and know what that is? Okay. Common Core curriculum is the federally mandated standard curriculum that's being pushed down by the Obama administration. There are 45 states that signed on to Common Core curriculum because when you signed on, you got federal dollars. Well, Governor Perry, to his credit, said no. There's a great video on womenonthewall.org and on Voices in Power of former Chairman Robert Scott a couple of weeks ago was in Georgia, and he was talking about how the Obama administration was trying to pressure the governor and Robert Scott to sign on to Common Core curriculum. They actually wanted them to sign on to it before it was written. Does that sound familiar? Exactly. So thankfully, Chairman Robert Scott said no. So we did not get Common Core curriculum mandated in our state. And we were all thinking, yes, we're so good, we're so conservative, Texas is great. Well, the left, they're long-term strategists, and when Plan A doesn't happen, work out for them, they go to Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. They actually have them all working at the same time. So in the state of Texas, because we are a target, because we are solidly conservative, they came in the back door. And CSCOPE is just one online technology curriculum. There's different curriculums in different states, and I just got an email from Donna Garner that the state board of, I'm sorry, what is it? The where's this? I'll grab this. The TASA, which is what, I'm sorry, I forgot my glasses at home, so I can't see. The TASA, is that how I say it, TASA?
Texas Association of School Administrators.
Yes, Texas Association of School Administrators. They've now signed on to an iCloud curriculum. Did you hear about this? This just came out. I got the email from Donna. So CSCOPE is just one. And Bill Ames and I were talking on the radio this morning that CSCOPE is an opportunity for us to shine a light on what's going on. But if CSCOPE isn't in your local district, don't think that you are good. Because they are coming at us from all directions. And TASA, what happens is our tax dollars pay for our superintendents and our school board members to be members of these state associations. And then these state associations send them to conferences in California. And who are the speakers at those conferences? Linda Darling Hammond. So Linda Darling Hammond didn't have to come to Texas and write CSCOPE curriculum. They just, on their PowerPoint slide for CSCOPE, have Linda Darling Hammond as the professional development mentor, if you will, that they used to write and to develop CSCOPE. Because what happened, back in the 60s when Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn weren't successful at taking down our country through violent means, they went into academia. And they became the professors and the teachers and the academic experts in universities all over the country. I hate to tell you, even Texas A&M has been infiltrated. So they became the experts. So when we were at this Region 11 meeting and the curriculum specialist said, Linda Darling Hammond didn't write it, we just used her expertise. So that's what's happening. They're training our teachers to steal the hearts and minds of our children. And as Mel Moss says, we are funding our own demise through our tax dollars, and we're allowing them to use our grandchildren and our children to take down our country. So this is a big deal. This is a very big deal. And what was found in the CSCOPE curriculum has given us insight into the infiltration. And I want to warn you, there's a big push for charter schools and school choice. And I, to an extent, am for that. After going to that hearing on January 31st, I thought, heck, I'm going to start homeschooling. I'm going to just put my kids in a cocoon. But I can do that for my children. But all those other kiddos out there in the inner city that don't have the moms and dads who have the ability to protect their children in that way are vulnerable. And they're voters. That's who they're targeting, future voters. The charter school legislation that's being pushed right now, if it is implemented, if it is pushed through as written, there's a grave danger. How many of you, raise your hand, have heard of the Harmony Science Centers?
Yeah.
The Harmony Science Centers are run by the Cosmos Foundation. Who runs the Cosmos Foundation? Fatwa Gulen, who's an Islamic extremist from Turkey. And Fatwa Gulen, G-U-L-E-N. And the Gulen movement, education movement, has been seen or noted as the cause of what caused Turkey to fall to the Muslim Brotherhood. If we allow these charter schools to go through, this legislation to go through without major safeguards, we truly are not only creating a national security threat with what's in CSCOPE, the pro-Islamic information in CSCOPE, and to have young 15-year-old girls wearing burqas, we're, by clamoring for charter schools and running to charter schools and then opening up the doors, I think one of the major safeguards should be that if you open a charter school in Texas or the United States for that matter, that you should actually be an American and be from the United States. And I encourage you to call Senator Dan Patrick, and let him know that.
Do any of them carry Turkish passports?
Yes, they're bringing in teachers. Well, they're bringing in teachers. That's another challenge. Is
they carry Turkish passports?
Yes. They've got HB1 visas coming in, and they're bringing in these teachers, and they're teaching at these schools, charter schools. So we need to be very careful that we don't push for something and then not have safeguards to protect us. So So I just got back from Washington, D.C. I was at CPAC. And can we show that video from CPAC? I asked the question. There was a panel called The Uninvited. And these are the folks that weren't asked to speak at CSCOPE. One of them was Rosemary Jinks from Members USA to talk about immigration.
In looking at the education system in our nation right now, the Common Core curriculum in Texas were valid in CSCOPE. How do you see the infiltration into the education system as a national security threat with what we're finding?
This is about the common education system and then seeping into our education system through textbooks, curriculum, etc.
It's the same phenomenon that we see even at this conference itself, that people are very anxious not to appear bigoted and racist, and so they court Muslim groups that they believe to be moderate. And I'm not saying there are no moderate Muslims and no Muslims who don't want to kill us. I'm very glad that there are Muslims who don't want to kill us. And there are lots of them. The thing is, though, that there are many groups that are not moderate at all, that have the same goals as the Al-Qaeda groups and all the others that are involved in violent jihad, but they're just achieving those goals by different means. This is very manifest and obvious in all kinds of ways. One of these groups is the Council on Islamic Education that is consulted because they don't want to be anti-Muslim and they want to be fair and you know, all sorts of good intentions by Putin Mifflin, by McGraw-Hill, by all the textbook publishers of public school textbooks in the United States. They run their textbooks by the Council on Islamic Education and groups like it in order to make sure that what it says about Islam is accurate. Now, the problem is that the people who are running them by these groups are not intelligent enough or informed enough. I should say informed enough. They might be very intelligent, but they haven't studied Islam. They don't know what it's about. And so they get back these whitewash texts that are essentially proselytizing. And these are being taught in schools. And you know, Pamela Geller and I fought battle last year for pointing out that Governor Rick Perry was involved with in implementing exactly one of these whitewash curriculums into the Texas public schools. And everybody said, no, Rick Perry is our great hope to beat Obama, and we can't criticize him. Well, this is exactly the problem that's with this movement. Look, if Rick Perry does something that's wrong, and obviously he was not a great hope that he's going to beat Obama anyway, but we ought to be able to speak about these things. He implemented a curriculum under the supervision of the Aga Khan Islamic Shiites, and it was a complete whitewash of Islam, and now they're dressing in burqas and praying to Allah in Texas public schools. There is no, it's very clear that what we uncovered about the curriculum is accurate. So the point is that the infiltration is very great, it's very sophisticated, and people with the best of intentions fall for it. We have to be more alert and more aware.
It's proselytizing. There's nothing about 1400 years of jihadi wars, land appropriations, cultural annihilations, and enslavements. No, it's proselytizing. And it's up to you to get on the school board. It's up to you. You have to. No one is going to save you. You are going to save you. You have to get on the school boards, the precincts, you have to get involved. And this is the whole idea of America anyway, that's to govern ourselves. That's the answer. You guys all being able to say, oh, this is terrible. You have to get involved and open up your mouth. And by the way, be ready to be targeted, smeared, and libeled.
On issues relating to the religious system in the Muslim world. So we're getting a very incomplete picture and slanted picture. You know, they did Harvard, Oxford, and Georgetown here in this city had probably this law center named after some French who funded it. And this is a university that trains our foreign service force. This is a very serious problem. And the second point Howard said, which is that we have democratic rights. We can make a difference. We raise our voices, we start writing, we start meeting on our members of Congress to speak up as well. Frank, what happens to Frank Capra?
An Islamist cleric who operates a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, including whole host of schools, 1,000 of them worldwide, 135 of them in this country, 38 in Texas alone. You can fight them when they come to your school board and ask for public funding as a charter school. We just did it in Loudoun County. Just did.
So it's interesting that this information they don't want at CPAC. Breitbart had to host an event called The Uninvited to get this information out. Because the part of CPAC that I went to when I heard Jeb Bush speak, even when I heard Governor Perry speak, it's pandering, and they're not taking on the issues. And I believe truly that we are not going to elect someone to save us, whether it's at the state level or the national level. Just like Pamela Geller said, we have to save ourselves. And the only way to save ourselves is to get educated on the issue and take action. And CSCOPE has provided us an opportunity to shine a light on what's actually going on in our state. Yes, thank you, Governor Perry, for stopping Common Core curriculum. Oh, by the way, you left something in the back door. To me, that's why I get up every morning and fight the good fight. Because I have 3 children. And I want them to have an opportunity to live in a country that is safe and secure. And if we will do our due diligence, Maggie, you can attest to this, grassroots can work, and we can elect people like Ted Cruz. Yes. You know, Ted Cruz came and spoke at Blog Bash, and if you go to womenonthewall.org, you can see the video of it. But he said that he announced that he was running on a bloggers conference call. He didn't call the mainstream media and put out a press conference. He already had a ground game of bloggers and activists, those of us that had been following him around with our little cameras and our cell phones, getting videos, and we had been sharing that information with our friends and neighbors. I'll give you a good story. I had a friend of mine who, towards the end of the campaign, she had just started getting engaged, and she said, now, who is this Ted Cruz guy? I'm not quite sure about him. He looks a little stuffy. And, and you know, and I said, well, look at David Dewhurst. Sorry, David Dewhurst. She just sent me an email, and she said, man, you were right. Thank God we elected Ted Cruz. That's right. And I will tell you, as I told Ted Cruz and his father Raphael, he gets it from his dad. He does. And his dad taught him, because of his experience in Cuba, if we screw up the United States, there's nowhere else to run. So this is our time, and this is our battle. I want to show one more video, and it's a short one. Women on the Wall produced this video, and I'm going to give you a call to action after you watch this video. Rebecca Forrest and I had this video produced actually right before the election. Our goal was to have it out actually to help Governor Romney in that last debate on national security. We thought for sure he would nail that. He didn't. He didn't stand up for those 4 men that were killed and murdered in Benghazi. The media is not standing up and covering what exactly happened in Benghazi. Our elected officials on both sides of the aisle just put Hagel in place. So do you think our elected officials are providing a safe and secure home for our children? There's hope, and here's the hope. This room is full. I go and speak around the state. There's other great patriots going around and speaking around the state. We have the numbers. We just need to act. And I've been talking to several people. Bill Ames is one, Bob Hall, down in Canton. I just got off the phone on my way here with Mary Bowman, the school teacher who's been exposing CSCOPE. And everybody's coming to the same conclusion. We're all, doing our part. We're all doing something. But we're not doing it in a coordinated effort. Our school board elections are coming up in May across the state of Texas. We have the opportunity at the local level to get people in place to drive the narrative about not just CSCOPE. Yes, CSCOPE's bad. CSCOPE is just one small piece of the puzzle. The bigger picture is that we are being infiltrated from within. And I can tell you that there are liberal Democrat moms and dads that love their children and will protect their children just as much as you and I. And we need to get out this information that we are being infiltrated from within. And if another 9/11 happens, and it's not if, it's when, I will stand with any Democrat mom, because it's not a Democrat or a Republican thing, it's not a conservative or a liberal thing. It's an American thing. And so, to me, the vision is to explain what's going on and then get people elected at the local level who will fight back and who will understand. But don't be fooled by someone that says, oh, I'm a conservative. Joe Strauss ran as a conservative pro-life guy. So that's not what it is. I want to see action. I want you to publicly say. And right now, there are a lot of elected officials down in Austin who will say, oh, yes, I'm not for CSCOPE. I'm not for CSCOPE. But they know that they don't have the numbers to stop the legislation. Why? That's a good question. I would venture to say that it is because there is big lobby money coming in the back door through Thomas Ratliff and the education bureaucracy. There was a great article on AgendaWise where Weston Hicks talks about how, you know, our schools are failing, but the education bureaucracy is thriving in Austin. And that truly is what's happening. So it's not a Republican-Democrat thing. Are there any questions about CSCOPE that I can clarify? Yes, Barry.
Alice, thank you very much. I think I got up from